I'm here today in the library of the Museum of Timekeeping, and I'm going to talk to you about this clock here. Most clocks and timepieces had the very specific purpose of showing their user the time of day. But once we get into the Industrial Revolution, a number of clocks took on a secondary function as well, and this is a really nice example of one of those clocks. What makes this clock different is the fact that the entire dial rotates. So rather than having hands which show the time, this dial rotates and there can show you the time of day in that way. Now, the other thing you'll notice about this clock is that it has a series of pegs set at 30-minute intervals all the way around this rotating dial. As the dial rotates, each of these pegs lines up with the button on the top of the clock, which can be depressed. And when you depress this, like so, we can see that now that that peg has been depressed, it's clear that somebody has been with the clock during this half-hour period. And this was really the aim of the way this clock was set up. The night watchman had a duty to not only remain at their station throughout their shift, but also to remain awake through a whole night shift day after day. The following morning, when the management team would come in, they would be able to see how many of these had been depressed, and any that had been missed out would lead to having their wages docked, for example, or even worse, to dismissal. This is just one example of this type of clock. Similar were used for prisons, for police stations, for post offices, and many of these were much smaller handheld devices that the staff could carry around with them, depressing buttons at certain points throughout their shift, as demonstrated here. But this is one of the only in our collection which shows a table clock of this type, and it's a wonderful object and an interesting story.